Good evening, welcome. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing well.
Yeah?
Glad to be here.
I'm glad to be here too.
Just had a great meal, by the way.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah.
It's definitely good.
I have to come back.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Yeah. Open most days.
All right. I'll be here tomorrow.
Right. Well, so how's your week been?
It's been good. I've been having family members in and out of the house, and that's kind of, I guess I just got to get used to it.
Right.
You know, so just accept it.
Right. Is what it is.
Welcome. My home is your home.
Right.
You know.
Right. Yeah. It's good.
Yeah.
Home. Your family makes a home. Home.
Yes.
Yeah, right.
True. Yep.
Right. Yeah. No.
How about you?
Awesome. It's been a good week. It's the weather's been a little crazy, but yeah, nothing major. So not in regards to the family anyway. different case in the political realm and in the news realm this week. This last week's news cycle has been pretty crazy in my opinion.
Yeah.
There's a lot going.
Yeah, it is. Speaking of rain, you know who finally got some rain? California.
Oh yeah,
Finally.
nice.
But it's kind of late.
Yeah.
You know, the destruction's there. Now they have
Right.
mudslides, and it's pretty horrible.
Yeah.
But at least they
Wow.
have the rain now.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, were the fires not out until just now? Is that did they just now go out completely? Is that what happened?
Well, I would assume they are completely out, but I saw footage of mudslides, and
I see.
you know,
So it just made the cleanup and recovery more difficult and messy.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I hate that for them. I hope our thoughts go out to those people.
Yeah.
I hate,
Absolutely.
Hate what they're having to deal with. It's not anything you'd wish on anybody. So
Not at all. Not at all.
well, so I guess let's go ahead and jump into our topics tonight. You're going to kick us off tonight, so
Yeah, we have a couple of items that we want to cover. First of which is the fact that, everyone's aware. Well, hopefully everyone's aware. Apparently everyone isn't aware.
Right.
I mean, I assumed everyone was
let's
aware.
make everyone aware.
Yeah, but that everyone knows at least about Biden's Green New Deal, right?
Of course.
It's how to make us less reliant on fossil fuels.
Yeah, the electric car initiative that was supposed to have the sale of fuel-powered vehicles
Discontinued.
by 2035. That's
Yes, absolutely.
right. Yeah, the mandate.
And part of that mandate was that he wanted to bring into existence electric military vehicles.
Right.
And I immediately, I don't see how that's feasible just yet.
I think it's a great idea. I think we should do it for our enemies.
Well, there you go. Obviously, the big problem here is that where are you going to charge these vehicles?
Uh-huh.
Are you going to have an agreement with your enemy and say, okay, listen.
We need you to put charge stations all over your country, please. We're ready to invade.
Exactly. Maybe have a little break area where they can park the trucks and recharge, get some candy bars.
A timeout, a smoke room. Yeah.
Well, there you go.
There you go.
Yeah. So, so since we're on this topic, I have an article here from a website, military.com. It's not the best websites. The most important part is the headline here. Electric military vehicles are part of Biden's climate agenda, Pentagon says.
Yeah.
Now, if I scroll down here, just so you know, this article was created November 9th, 2021.
2021. That's right.
Right? So we want to just make sure that's in the record books here.
Yeah.
Also records of how bad the website is, but it's here. The data's here. The date it's stated.
Right.
But we have a clip that we want to play for you.
Yeah.
Where apparently some of the producers of some of our shows that are on air are not fact checking anything.
Mm-hmm.
So, but here, let's see what the Hodge twins have for us here.
Okay. Yeah.
NBC was a smear campaign.
Yeah, yep.
She went
Exactly what it
after.
was.
She's going after Elon Musk
Right.
and the Trump administration about about a contract for electric armored vehicles.
Right.
And the way she spent her news segment, it's like making it seem like Elon Musk is trying to get his money back for helping get Trump elected, right?
Right.
That's how she's funded.
She was like, hey, I'm your biggest donor. I'm trying to get my money back. I'm going to get this $400 million contract for Tesla.
Yeah, right here. Okay, so here's the segment by
Yeah.
this fraud of a journalist.
Yeah.
Well, now, as the top campaign donor to U.S. President Donald Trump, Elon Musk has apparently somehow convinced the United States government, specifically the United States Department of State that the taxpayers of the United States of America should spend $400 million buying, quote, armored Tesla production units.
Right.
MSNBC's Rachel Maddow covered that alarming story on her show last night, but she's leaving out some pretty crucial details about that massive Tesla contract. And we'll tell you what the details are after you watch the rest of what she had to say.
TYT is going to rip her apart.
Since I think the only supposedly armored production vehicles Tesla makes are these hilarious trucks, this really appears to be the State Department announcing, putting in writing that it's going to spend $400 million buying these paperweights.
This is our media, everybody.
Yeah, obviously, as I mentioned before, but this was Biden's initiative here.
From Elon Musk.
Yeah, that's the
This
mainstream
began,
media.
right, with Biden's initiative.
This is our media. She should be able to get sued for defamation for this.
This is a line item in the latest procurement forecast for the U.S. Department of State.
So this is where the story actually takes some twists and turns. And I would venture to say that the producers over at the Rachel Maddow show on MSNBC were fully aware of the dates involved on this procurement documentation. So bear with us as we go through the details. Ryan Grimm of Dropsite News first reported on this contract yesterday, but what Grimm reported is a little bit different from what Rachel Maddow reported.
Totally different.
Let me give you the relevant portion of Ryan Grimm's reporting here, where he says that the State Department's procurement forecast, revised as of late December 2024, lists Tesla as the recipient of the largest expected contract, with Marco Rubio's department planning to buy $400 million worth of armored Tesla. The procurement forecast is listed as having been modified on December 13th, 2024.
So it
a
was
month
Biden.
after Donald Trump's election. It was a month after Donald Trump's election, but it was obviously before he had been inaugurated, before he was officially in office. In other words, the State Department would have issued that contract under Biden's administration.
Right.
So I'm sure.
But whose initiative is to be zero emissions?
Right.
It's Democrats. Yeah. So it would make sense why Biden's administration would want to give Tesla $400 million for armored vehicles. Right.
Yeah, and so that's the main point we wanted to make here. So a lot of the news that we have is just not accurate, right? It's not legit. It's just it seems as of lately it's just to smear.
It's fear-mongering.
Fear-mongering, right.
They're just trying to spread disinformation and fear and stoke people's passionate responses. That's all they want to do.
Right, and they're trying to be quick to the draw as well. They're trying to get the latest cutting edge news, but they need to fact check their own stuff.
Yeah, they're throwing everything against the wall just to see what sticks. They don't really care. And Maddow is infamous for it. She does it constantly. You remember she was the one that was screaming. I think we looked at a clip. This was probably, I don't know, a month ago. We looked at a clip that she was saying that the U.S. government's going to have to reevaluate all of Musk's contracts as one of the largest government contractors. We're going to have, U.S. government's going to have to pull back or rein back those contracts from SpaceX and talking about all that stuff. And it was like, wait, what? She was mad. She just mad dogs everything, and it doesn't even have to be legitimate.
Yeah, and it makes me think part of their agenda is to garner views, clicks, debate.
Right.
Like, I mean, the mere fact that she posted it, we're talking about it. You know what I mean?
Right.
So maybe we're just pawns in her evil world, right? She just wants.
Right.
So maybe it's all working out for her.
We're just marching to her beat. Yeah.
Yep. Exactly.
Yep.
But yeah, so that was on topic. Moving on to our next item here. So there's a pollster on X by the name of Patrick Ruffini, and he has some interesting polls here. So one that caught my eye today was something was regarding the the number one problem that Democrats are too focused on is race and gender and age. And then below there's a poll. Which of these do you think is the biggest problem with the Democratic Party today? If you don't think any of these are a problem, just say so.
Right.
Right. So we got a list here. So first thing, deranged and divided. Oh, sorry.
That says it's organized.
Sorry. Well, they are deranged and divided. But
that was a Freudian slip.
Yep. Yeah, right. Disorganized and divided. 15% say that the Democratic Party is. Weak on border security and illegal immigration. Absolutely. Out of touch with the working class. 13%. Too focused on race and gender issues, which
how's that not everybody?
That reminds me of someone. Yeah. Right. Crockett. Does that register with you? Jasmine Crockett.
Yeah.
Who, in my opinion, is a race baiter. Yes. Just saying it. Yes. I mean, party of socialism, government control.
I mean, I didn't say it because that would be a. What did she say? How did she phrase it? A whining white boy, or what was the phrase? I don't remember how she said it.
I don't remember. I don't even want to watch her video again to see it.
I didn't. Yeah. Anyway, but yeah. So go ahead.
Yeah. So on and so forth. There's one on here that they didn't mention. The question is they don't know what a woman is anymore.
Yeah.
That was a big one for me. I mean, I've been a Democrat most of my life, as
right.
have you. But basic things like that just kind of...
So not just too focused on race and gender issues, but not even understanding or able to define race and gender issues. Or
exactly.
Understanding. But
yes. Yeah. So this caught my eye. This guy's got all sorts of polls. Actually, there's another one here as well.
Yeah.
Apparently, there's a poll to determine... let's see, the Democratic primary, 2028 Democratic presidential primary.
If it were held today... Who would you vote for?
And look who we have.
Oh my gosh.
Here. Look at this.
Wow.
Are these your best candidates? And this brings to mind another issue I had with the Democratic Party. I didn't think that they found and vetted the strongest people to represent the Democratic Party.
Right.
Now, I've always been a rooter for the underdog. Mm-hmm. Obviously, Kamala lost this last election. I want to see what she comes with if she happens to run again in 2028.
Well, I think there's like Jasmine Crockett had 3% there.
I know
that's wild. Buttigieg is 10%. Walz, oh my gosh. AOC 6%. If I'm looking at her, maybe 5%, but just below Gavin Newsom. Mm-hmm. This is part of the problem. Is the DNC is essentially a well-oiled machine that promotes based on certain criteria, and it tends to be. From what it looks like, stuff we're even going to get into later today or later in this episode, it looks like it could have something to do with financial viability or for profitability or where they think, what they think is going to bring money in and like you're saying, attention. And that just makes it dangerous because you end up promoting people for all the wrong reasons. Mm-hmm. And I'm not even getting into the DEI aspect of it. Yeah, there's a DEI aspect problem or a DEI problem. But even aside from that, if you're promoting people for all the wrong reasons and it's not merit that's determining who rises to the top of your hierarchy, then what is it, right? Is it control? Is it power? Is it influence? Is it relationships? Is it a good old boy network? What is it that is determining whether you or I get to rise to the next level? That's the entire problem with the Democratic Party.
Yep.
Is no one's real sure. They don't let you see under the hood, and we'll get into a little bit more. We're going to get into more aspects of it later, but that's all I'll say about that for now because this is quite a list.
It is. Even Stephen A. Smith made it to the list. That's pretty impressive.
Right. And 10% said someone else.
But Stephen didn't get any votes though, so that's
right.
That's
right. But 10% said someone else.
I know, right?
And they probably thought that meant please specify. Yeah. Please give me somebody else. No, but yeah, I'm playing. But either way, there's some lists. There's some people on that list. Shapiro and I can't believe Walz is on there. how is Tim Walz on that list?
Yeah, I don't know.
Are there people that want Tim Walz for president?
I think there are. There are. The people who wanted Kamala for president want Tim.
That's
So
it's disconcerting.
And then Gavin with the whole. I don't know. We know the state of California right
it's
now.
Too soon.
Yeah.
Too soon?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It
for
is.
sure.
Yeah.
I think.
Right. So, all right, moving right along. Did you want to intro this one?
No, you're fine. Go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. So we have a woke protester destroyed by.
We've got a few clips we're gonna run through, right? Just kind of little short clips. We're gonna take a second and I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it.
Employees of this coffee house voted to unionize and give themselves $20 an hour. 1 week later, all 3 stores were shut down. Shocking.
Ori, you can't hide. We all see your greedy side.
What the hell is even that?
Former employees of OCF Coffee House rallied outside of the now closed Fairmount Cafe on Tuesday.
We've been paid really bad wages, and this was our attempt to get better wages and make the place that we love better.
Talk about your all-time backfires.
The coffee shops are owned by OCF Realty. Real estate brokerage announced the closures to employees in an email which included 2 other locations in South Philly. Workers like Alex Simpson say they were shocked.
I am pretty crushed, especially when it's such a blatant response to our union process. This comes a week after we publicly announced our union.
No offense, but it sounds like some commie gobbledygook.
Make sure you leave a like on this video and you subscribe or follow for more daily news.
Yeah, that's funny. I actually used to work with a real estate agency, and they opened a coffee house / deli across the street for the employees. They did it for their employees and the people they brought in. And the added perk or benefit was they were operated like a restaurant or a coffee house, a delicatessen type thing. But it was always just a borderline profit. It wasn't a highly profitable business. And that's exactly, I'm guessing that's something like that was going on because it was owned by a realty company. It could be a similar situation. Either way, they all band together and decide to unionize and demand $20 an hour. And they're like, okay, that's it. And they shutter the doors. They're like, we can't afford this. And it's a good example of a lot of, I saw a debate. We should have pulled it up, but I saw a debate between Ben Shapiro and a student that was advocating socialism over capitalism and over democracy or capitalism, I guess. And the whole point was he was like, it's better when all the employees own a portion of the company they're working for. That way, when the company succeeds, everybody succeeds, and it's not owned by some rich, just benefactor at the top that's disconnected from the work. And he made a really valid point, which is the point in this one too. It's in capitalism, the person who reaps the profit is the one that has the risk. Because if you're working there and the company goes belly up because you don't do a good job or because anybody doesn't do a good job, the person that has to pay the debts from the loans and all of the product that was purchased and the things that are left outstanding is the person who should receive the profit. Because what produces profit is risk. The saying is it takes money to make money. But what it's meaning is if you lay money out on the table, you're the one that pulls the money back up. And it's a fundamental misunderstanding for a lot of people in America. And I don't know how, I guess they skip Econ 101, but somehow they just don't understand the concept. So at least it doesn't look like they do.
Yeah, they don't understand. And the thing is, as a business owner, as a risk taker, there are tons of incentives for you to start the business, to allow the business to thrive, to be able to hire people, to be able to pay people, to give people bonuses, to expand the business, right?
Yeah.
And to eat away at the revenue and profits just because you think you deserve it and that you think that you are entitled because you are part of the success. In a sense, you are responsible for the success, but you got to keep the boat afloat.
Yeah.
Right. If you poke holes in it, if you overweigh the boat, it's gonna sink, and everything's gonna sink with it.
Yes. And most companies in this country are small businesses, right? And when you cross over 15 employees, all of a sudden you're subject to a ton of federal guidelines. Some of those guidelines are the way you handle the FICA, the match for them paying taxes. You have to start matching their Social Security. You have to start doing certain things. Another one is you have to carry and offer insurance. Those are huge expenses. So the second you cross over 15 employees, you have a lot more of a loaded cost per employee. And so that employee sitting there selling $4 cups of coffee, thinking I'm only making $14 an hour, I should be making $20 an hour. You're not thinking about everything. You're not considering all of the loaded costs that you have associated with you being there, and a lot of them don't factor it in. Now, I don't know if those people were getting insurance. I don't know the specifics. I don't even know if they had 15 employees. I don't know anything about it, but I do know that as a previous business owner and current business owner, that's the way that it plays out in most situations. You have to very carefully straddle that line of your costs ballooning. So
yeah. And even one of the more profitable companies that more known, Amazon, wasn't it for 10 years they didn't make a profit? Something to that effect, right?
Yeah, operated at a loss.
Yeah.
A lot of companies operate at a loss in the beginning.
Yeah.
It's expected.
Yep.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, the last business plan I put together was anticipating a 3 to 5 year negative position. So we expected to take 5 years to get into the green, and we did it in 3, but still it was... we were filing exemptions as much as we could those first few years because things were tight. So
yeah. Well, hopefully this will wake them up and at least educate them more on economics.
Right.
So
right.
All right. Moving right along, we have another clip for you. You want an intro, or are we just gonna click play and?
I say we watch it first. This is actually, we should intro this one because this one's ridiculous. I've seen a few of these on TikTok and different places that when they say it, you're just like, what? What do you? And yeah, let's watch it and then we'll get into the reactions on it because it's wild.
All right.
So check in on Gen Z, young adults like these two young ladies who have clearly been failed by the American education system. They've also been failed by their parents and society.
Society need men.
Yes and no. No.
So why yes and why no for you? And then I'll ask you why you said no.
Well, because in today's society, sometimes you don't need the male to have a baby anymore. That's why I would say yes and no.
It's not like a moral thing for me.
Yeah.
I'm like we can exist without men only because new research has been discovered of making egg into sperm, so we can reproduce.
Where is this research? Cite your sources, please. What
is she talking about?
Is this real?
This can't be real.
This is a skit.
This has to be a joke. They're trolling or something.
You can turn an egg into sperm.
Right.
Well, can we turn coal into gold?
Does he even question her about it? Does he say anything about it?
Let's see. Go ahead.
I don't remember.
Without men, so it's not like a moral thing. It's more of like if men just died right now, could we survive? Yes, because of the new research that they're doing.
Now let's.
Right.
I don't know, man. I mean,
this is interesting. You learn something new every day online.
I know. I have so many. I don't even know where to start. How? Where's this reasoning come from?
Yeah, that's crazy. And I think that this is they're laughing at it, saying this is what explains a lot about Gen Z and what they think and believe. And I don't know, man. That's crazy.
I mean, I want to say that as far as IQ, maybe I'm not using the right term. Gen Z has been exposed to more information than we were when we were younger.
Right. They hear stuff all the time. Yeah, constantly.
But I think the problem is it's so much that it gets scrambled.
Oh, of course. Of course.
And it's unstructured. It's just, this is a new concept, but...
All information is not equal. Yeah.
Right.
Information is not information. So, yeah. Here, 2 seconds for me. Yeah, so... Where were we?
I think we're back.
Oh yeah, we're back. I just didn't remember where we were. So that's obviously preposterous. Information is not equal, right? I've mentioned this before. The thing we didn't anticipate about the information age is the fact that all information would not be equal, and that there would be so much bad, such a dilution of information and truth and fact, and it makes it hazardous out there. It's dangerous out there, boys and girls.
Yeah, so. Unstructured chaos.
Right. And then the last one. Let's see. Yep.
Joe Rogan just found the mother lode of fraud, and it's worse than we thought.
What he said. He said when you get to the bottom of all this, it's going to be insane because they haven't even got to the Medicaid yet. They haven't even got to the medical stuff. There's so much they haven't even tapped into where they think the real mother lode of fraud is.
Right.
DOD. Yes, and I must say that there is also another aspect to this which we have to be careful about, which is that the justifiable anger at discovering what it is that we've been dragged into as a nation is going to make it hard to see where the limits ought to be in terms of upending this stuff. In other words, at the moment, I'm cheering for the wrecking ball.
Right.
Break this stuff up. Never again.
Yeah. That's a very valid point. Is, as we're looking at this, we're thinking it makes perfect sense. People need to know, why has the debt ballooned the way that it has? Why is the deficit ballooning the way that it is? And it's a very valid point. All right, let's pause for a second.
No, you good. No need to pause.
Okay.
I was just going to do some research.
Okay, good.
On what percentage of the budget is spent on, you might know this fact.
What?
On Social Security, Medicare.
No, I don't. Let's see.
Okay. Because I'm wondering if there is uncovered huge amounts of fraud.
On what? Medicaid? Are you saying Medicare, Medicaid?
Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid. If there's a lot of fraud there, if it is a big percentage of our, expenses as a whole, how much will it eventually save us? So
21% of the budget.
Wow. Okay. And then we got a nice little graph there. What is that? Let's see. Mm-hmm.
So defense, that's a nice graph. So it looks like Social Security and Medicare constitute more than a third of the budget. So defense is 13%. Next, moving up in order. Oh no, starting at the bottom. Medicaid is 10%. Medicare is 13%, which is the same as defense spending. Then you go to non-defense discretionary spending, which is 16%. That must be your USAID.
Yeah, that must be where we are now.
Right.
We got a whole lot more to investigate.
Right, and then Social Security is 21%, and other mandatory spending is 27%. So keep in mind, one of the big areas that people are talking about is DoD. Right, that when they get to the Defense Department, that's your military industrial complex. Mm-hmm. So that's going to be huge because they know that there's tons of waste in that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the whole decision to leave all of the ammunition, leave all of the tanks, leave the choppers, leave everything in Afghanistan when we pull out.
Yeah.
Right. That's where the crazy amounts of waste have been.
And a lot of tanks, artillery, all things are sent over to Ukraine, and allegedly they are selling. I mean, I haven't verified this, but I heard that they were selling a lot of stuff on the black market,
right?
And they were finding that some of the cartels in Mexico have U.S. weapons that they're fighting our border guards with.
Yeah,
so
that's not just there was tons of it left in Afghanistan. There's also evidence that a lot of it has been diverted, that's been sent to Ukraine. Mm-hmm. That they've been diverting and selling some of it too.
Yeah.
Because you remember that was the whole question of they can't justify where they're sending it and where the money's going and where everything is. They don't keep track of it because it's war and they're just they're just disseminating it.
Yeah.
And there were already corruption issues going on in Ukraine with some of the oligarchs there, and that was a whole issue leading up to the original supplantation that occurred in 2014. Mm-hmm. That's when all the other stuff started, when we cut the head off the snake.
Right.
And so it's, there's tons. And think about the stuff that we're delving into now, right? FEMA almost certainly falls into non-defense, either non-defense or other mandatory. I don't know which one. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, billions in waste. I mean, just rampant waste and kickbacks. Mm-hmm. Places where they're finding places where the original allocation through, let's say, USAID went to an NGO And there are some people that have, 20, 30, as high. I heard one that had 64 NGOs. These NGOs have people named on the board. And so the NGO receives the money from USAID and then turns around and pays its members $400,000 a year just for sitting on its board, $350,000 a year. And it's crazy. It's like, oh my God. So that's the kickback. That's how you get kickbacks.
Yep.
One of the ways you get kickbacks.
Yep.
But so the point, anyway, to get back to the point, he makes a very valid point that when it all becomes evident and everybody looks at it and says, okay, this is so, because we're going to have to come out with a game plan. Because right now I think the number is $324,000 per taxpayer in the U.S. that's owed in the national debt. So that's $320,000 you've got to pay, I've got to pay. And that is a direct cost that is broken up by taxpayer. So when it all boils down and everybody realizes that $300,000 obligation that I have as a result of this is because in order to wipe it out, we would have to pay it. We would literally have to give it to the government in taxes to wipe out that debt. Or we bring the budgeting control and we keep paying taxes that are going to be too high beyond the time where we're spending them too much to pay that debt down. And as the amount that will be there will be that averaged out $324,000 per person. So once that happens, and there are going to be tons of discussions, I can only imagine, around, well, shouldn't the wealthiest people pay? Yeah, but it's a tax burden. Yeah, because what are you going to do with someone who's on welfare that has a $324,000 tax obligation? So there's going to be tons of questions and accusations and things that fly around, but what's going to happen when the people realize exactly how awfully the money has been misappropriated? And it becomes clear that it's in every sector of the government, and that's what's propping up this huge bureaucratic fourth state or fourth pillar of our country, the unelected bureaucracy. That's a goalpost that we're going to see ourselves passing here, I think, before too long. I would say we're probably 6 to 12 months away from that.
Yeah. And I think a big part of the opposition against Trump is fueled.
Oh, yeah. By the people that don't want to be targeted as a result.
Right.
They know that what they've been doing and is not above board. And they know that if it comes down to showing and tracing these funds, I mean, a lot of the NGOs in the article I saw, a lot of the NGOs were saying, or a lot of them were saying that the NGOs were funneling to offshore bank accounts. So those NGOs would bring in $41 million, funnel out to X number of offshore bank accounts, and then the people that hold the bank accounts are the ones that can go pull it whenever they want. It's corrupt, man. It's corrupt, and people are going to be outraged. And I don't know how everybody's going to be outraged. I don't see this being a partisan issue. Because Democrats disagree on a lot of things, but I can't see them disagreeing on rampant fraud and abuse in the American bureaucracy. Do you?
If they are implicated, if they are found in some way with their hand in the cookie jar,
then what?
Then
they're going to be they're going to be angry.
Right.
But I'm saying the average person who was not participating in the system, right? Let's just talk about the average taxpayers, because you've got your people that live in the cities tend to be blue. People that live in rural areas tend to be red. And so you have a large area of the country that's red as a result. And I can't see the average New Yorker not being pissed when they realize exactly how everyone is being affected by this. I think everybody's going to be angry. And
I hope so.
And I do too. And I'm afraid that the result is going to be we're going to have to reconstitute our parties in some way. We're going to either have to do away with the Democratic Party, or we're going to have to constitute a new one, or we're going to have to somehow reform the Democratic Party. And what does that look like? I don't know. There's a lot of ambiguity in that. I have no idea.
Well, I have a feeling that the people on this list here,
right,
even if the data is proven, even corruption is exposed, I don't think any of these people here, I don't know, they just won't be on board. They're still going to say, oh, well, you guys are lying.
Yeah.
They're going to say something outlandish, and we already know what this one's going to say here. I don't want to say her name anymore.
Yeah, but it's going to be one of the situations where it's like if you weren't acting as a result of them, you were acting directly to benefit them, right? It's like if they weren't causing you to, then you unknowingly benefited them. And I think that's what it's going to be. I don't know, because they're, like they said, they haven't even gotten to the big ticket items. They haven't gotten to Medicare, Medicaid. They haven't gotten to the Social Security Administration. Well, no, I guess Musk was talking about finding people that were 150 years old on Social Security. So I guess they're in that. Mm-hmm. But yeah, there's the FEMA was a big one. There's a lot of them that are going to be, when it comes out, what's it going to look like? And I think everybody, I just can't imagine most Democrats saying, I just don't want to know, right?
Well, they're saying it now.
You think so?
Yeah, they're going to.
How can we let them have our personal information when she's talking about the guy who started PayPal? Right. Who we all willingly, the largest financial platform on the planet.
Yep.
We've all given them our information.
Our information is everywhere, y'all.
Right. But,
too late to be concerned.
Right. But, so that's, that's that. So, into the next one. So on this one, this is, I've been watching a number of the Senate hearings and things like that have been going on. Specifically, I watched the first official meeting of the DOGE Senate Oversight Committee, and among those, this wasn't that one, and in this one, well, let's just watch and we'll talk about it afterward. So,
Mr. Schellenberger, can you explain how you traced USAID funding that served as the basis for whistleblower report in 2019, which led to the impeachment of President Trump?
Sure. Well, you may remember that the so-called whistleblower was in the White House was actually a CIA analyst, and in that whistleblower's complaint, which led to the impeachment, one of the central pieces of evidence was created by a USAID funded and controlled organization called the OCCRP. And we have another piece out today about how it participated in the Russiagate hoax as well, creating essentially very important information leading to that. So, I mean, you have in USAID a much larger fund of money and a much broader strategy for information control that included censorship, but also, as I mentioned, taking control of investigative journalism really worldwide. I mean, its ambitions were, amazing. So, yeah, I mean, that's an agency. When we saw that get shut down by DOGE, I thought that was completely appropriate. If there's something in there that it was doing that's valuable, then you could refund it later.
Well, I think it's always been known that our government has funded the change in administrations, if we can say it politely, of other governments. But isn't it borderline treason when the taxpayer when organizations entrusted with protecting our country are now undermining our own government?
Absolutely. I mean, if you're trying to do regime change, illegal, if you're weaponizing DHS, FBI, CISA, that's treasonous regime change activities redirected, that we developed abroad for regime change, directed against the American people and our representatives. I mean, it's shocking, and we still haven't dealt with it as a country.
So, yeah. So I'm going to kind of use this point to segue into the next topic that I'll take us into, but that's crazy.
It is.
Actually tracing the funds out of USAID. And I think I said this a couple of weeks ago. I think I mentioned, we see stuff happening in other countries, and I don't remember if it was you or Derek, but we see stuff happening where they go in and they start trying to influence elections and trying to control the media and do things in other countries. And I think that's what happened to us in 2016, or what began in 2016 and got actually effective in 2020 by 2020. And that's exactly what they're saying. They're saying that produced the Russiagate stuff. Now, in our last episode, we watched a clip in which the Senate, the confirmation hearings for Kash Patel, they referred to the fact that he had written a book and in it had named a list of people on a hit list, so to speak. And I said that I wanted to listen to it. So I listened to that book this week. And oh my gosh, it's that book is crazy. That book is so he covers a lot. He explains, basically tells his story, tells who he is, how he came into the picture, and how he ended up working in and having an impact on the Russiagate investigation through the FBI and the FBI. And so his book outlines like the deep state's influence on U.S. democracy, the actions of the Justice Department, the FBI's role in Russiagate. So how that's a situation where oppositional research performed by the Clinton campaign. This is during the 2016 election. Yeah. Oppositional research that they funded provided evidence that was made up, accused or saying that Trump was basically a Russian spy and that his campaign had been meeting with Russia. They colluded to produce these documents. Then they leaked them to the media. The media ran with it like crazy. Then they handed it to the FBI, and the FBI used the media leaks to justify an investigation and opened an active investigation into Trump. Literally tapped, and this would have been 2016 because it was Obama's White House that actually initiated it. Initiated the wiretaps and the surveillance on the Trump campaign and everybody in it. And it just listening to him describe how because Patel first got brought on to work it. And as he started working it, he's like, okay, the more they find out, the more corrupt he finds out it is. And he realizes that it's the deep state. And so he starts trying to stop it, and there was no stopping the ball. The ball was already rolling downhill. Mm-hmm. And so he describes that. He describes the National Security Council and their influence, the operations of the Department of Defense, and he leads it up to January 6th. And the way that essentially that was all just a psyop, right? That where they not only had people in the crowd, but they also prevented Trump and the White House, which Patel was part of the White House at that point, prevented them from letting the National Guard in. There are so many pieces to this. It's about a 6-hour book, and it was a shocking read. Like I'm listening to it going, oh my gosh. Now granted, this is one person's perspective, but he's an incredibly astute person. He's an attorney, and he's very detail oriented. He knows what he's talking about, and he comes across as a genuinely honorable guy, right? Like a genuine American that is just Now, of course, I understand that's how they're going to come across. I'm not saying that's the only reason I believe him. It's just it lines up so well, and you hear so many things because I wanted to read it. I'm like, is this complete garbage? Right? Are they trying to sell a bill of goods? And it doesn't. He explains the deep state, how he found out about the deep state, how the deep state tried to stop him, and the way that he narrowly escaped being shut out and shut down by the deep state. And then he goes into proposed reforms that we can make at the federal level so it explains why Trump wants him in at the FBI. Mm-hmm. Proposed reforms, national security policies, challenges in government transparency, and strategies for government accountability. One of them, for example, is he talks about the fact that the FBI, the reason it's got so many problems is because they have such a significant, I think they have 3,700 personnel in the Washington office, and it's not a field office, it's headquarters. And so everyone in the FBI knows that in order to rise up in ranks in the FBI, you have to go do a stint at headquarters. Mm-hmm. And so and it creates this system where the law enforcement arm of the Federal Bureau of Investigation is completely subject to, located at the same place as, and dependent upon all of the bureaucrats in Washington and all of and everybody. And his point is, you've got to get them out of Washington. He's like, there's no point for them to be rubbing noses with politicians. They're law enforcement. Get them out. Get them back into the field offices. Let them do their jobs. That's how they'll get their rank. That's how they'll get their promotions. They get it by actually being Federal Bureau of Investigation officers or agents. Mm-hmm. And he makes a lot of really good points. Now, do I think he's 100% accurate? I don't know that anything's 100% accurate. It's a lot of information to take in, but he says some pretty incriminating. He gives some pretty incriminating evidence. Given the information he provides in that book, I have no idea how charges have not been brought against the Clintons, for example, and the Clinton campaign and the Obamas. It makes no sense because, like that clip just said, it's treason. I mean, it's not almost treason. It's not treasonous. It's treason, right? And it's you can't actively work to supplant a sitting president of your country without that being treason. So I don't know. It's a lot of information, man. It genuinely is. I finished it in a couple days, in a day or day and a half, and it's been a few days. I'm still chewing on it, chewing on the fat, trying to figure out. Well, yeah. So
it reminds me of there's obviously been a lot of regime changes around the world.
Yes.
The conspiracy that our country is the reason behind it.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the same parties were trying to do the same exact thing.
That's actually almost exactly what USAID did.
Yeah.
USAID was funding subversive operatives in foreign governments to help them win elections, win democratic votes, controlling media. They were paying the media organizations. They were doing all of these things, and it looks very clearly like at some point, now the answer seems to be, and I don't know this for sure, but it seems to be just before the 2016 election. Because keep in mind, it wasn't just the opposition research that brought up the Russiagate. That's also when Hunter Biden's laptop got shut down. So that was that was prior to the 2020. So that was the next one, because that was the next big thing. And I'm sure there were some in there that I'm not thinking of, but that was the one that I remember noticing, was the Hunter Biden laptop being shut down, and that supposedly being proof of collusion and all these different things. And the FBI shut it down. They took it and they suppressed it. They said they didn't want to influence the election, but by doing so, they influenced an election, because there were tons of swing voters there that, had there been obvious evidence of treasonous collusion going on between the Ukraine and the Bidens, wouldn't have voted for Biden. And I know that because I'm one of them. All right, I don't have to. That's not conjecture. If it had been proof that, I mean, we had already gotten to the I'm not sure I trust the media point, but it wasn't pervasive. I didn't have it. I was still getting my news secondhand at the time, and it just, it would have been. I think it would have been a different outcome. They have polled and found that as few as 10% of the Biden voters said that, had there been evidence, they would have voted differently. When that question was put to them just neutrally, like, if you had heard that he was treasonous before this happened, would you have still voted for him? And at least 10% said no. There's obviously, and that would have changed the election. Just 10%.
For sure.
So that's a lot, man.
It is.
And we might have to deal with some difficult questions, like, do we prosecute previous sitting presidents? Do we prosecute because it could get ugly, and I don't know what that looks like. I don't know. I think, if I had to guess, the same way, who was it that replaced Nixon? Was it Johnson? Not Carter. Whoever replaced Nixon, I think it was Johnson. I think he stepped up as vice president when Nixon resigned. He decided not to prosecute just for the common welfare of the country. He didn't want the country divided and torn over the experience of having to litigate a previously sitting president. Trump might have to do something like that. He might have to say, look, we're not going to prosecute. What we're going to do is fix the law so that this can never happen again. We're going to find a way to put guardrails up. And that's part of the book that Patel wrote, was ways to protect from future repeats of this, because it was getting everywhere. I mean, it was getting into everything. They had censorship attempts. When you're talking about the way they were trying to influence the social media companies to prevent people from being able to speak their mind, they were trying to introduce tools that involved AI to actively censor things while people were communicating. It's crazy. And this was all being funded by the U.S. taxes. It's insane.
Insane. It sounds like a great movie, though.
Yeah. Maybe. Good spy thriller.
Yeah, I think so. And it's based on a true story, allegedly, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, like I said, a lot this week.
Yes.
And we only touched the tip of the iceberg. So,
I'm happy that a lot of the hidden secrets are being revealed. I mean, If you're a conspiracy theorist, this is a dream come true, right?
Right.
Because they are opening the Chester drawers with all the top secret things and the files, and
Yep.
you know, MLK, you know, JFK.
Yep. JFK. Well, anything else before we wrap?
That is it for me. I thought there was one more clip that we wanted to discuss.
Oh yeah, this one.
Yes.
You want to get into it?
Yeah, go ahead. I'll let you lead.
It's okay. So we're talking about, this is about Doge, and they tried to stop the Department of Government Efficiency. They filed all these lawsuits, and the first one went before a judge, apparently. And that's what we're watching here. So let's go in here.
Now, to even prove my point even more about how pathetic they are, this takes us to the next story, which is this entire corruption case with Mayor Eric Adams and how they're trying to tie it to Trump. And even in the headlines, they're saying, yes, Trump ordered quid pro quo. Now, here is what Pam Bondi had to say, where she defended the decision to drop the charges against the mayor.
But listen, we have a right to protect the weaponization, against weaponization in New York and every state in this country, and also national security. What did Eric Adams announce today? That he's going to open Rikers Island for these illegal immigrants. When did they go after him? When he started criticizing the Biden administration. He criticized them for all of their immigration practices. New Yorkers aren't safe, and Eric Adams is going to keep New York safe. You know, they took away his security clearance, which he's about to get back, so he can help keep New York safe. Whether Kathy Hochul's going to enforce it, the mayor of New York will enforce it.
So at this point, though, the case has not been dropped, actually, because of this pushback. What happens in that?
Yeah, Martha, I'm on a different time zone, but it's my understanding it is being dismissed today.
Now, as she stated, she claimed that the charges would be dropped. They were not dropped yet. In fact, it is being reported that they will be going in front of a judge to hear both sides, and then the judge will make a determination if the charges can be dropped or not. Now, speaking of a judge, here is a former district court judge who had an interesting take about all of this.
So, Judge Shedlin, I'm looking forward to hearing your insight here, given the role that you used to play as a judge, potentially overseeing something like this. How do you see Judge Dale Ho viewing this dismissal motion, considering the quid pro quo allegation in this case?
I think he's going to listen pretty hard to both sides, and he's going to have a lot of questions for everyone. I don't think he's simply going to rubber stamp this. I agree with Jennifer that it's going to be a pretty searching inquiry, because in her letter, Danielle Sassoon, she pointed out that it has to be in the public interest. And if it's not in the public interest, it shouldn't be dismissed. Right. So he can question them and say, why is this in the public interest? Or why isn't it in the public interest to let this go right now?
Now, in regards to public interest, it's very clear. If you live in New York City, you want the illegal aliens out. You want the criminals out. You want to stop seeing people burned on the subway. There's no question about that. And Mayor Eric Adams, without the corruption charges, was already in trouble because of how much crime has skyrocketed and clearly the illegal migration crisis. So, yeah, I think there's a lot of public interest out there to have him actually do his job. And if he can't do his job because you guys will indict him and try to put him in prison, then you should just go ahead and remove him from office, okay? Let's not keep him 1 foot in and 1 foot out. Now, I believe that's a common sense perspective on all this, but not the fake Reverend Al Sharpton. He believes it's President Trump who is the mayor of New York City.
But to your point, how do New Yorkers live in a city not run by its elected leader? You said and AOC says Adams must be removed. The city cannot sustain being governed for nearly a year by a mayor who's being coerced. I mean, who's running the city right now?
I think that's what the judge is going to have to answer, because right now, from the statement given to the court about why they want to drop these charges, Donald Trump's running the city right now. He's got to be available to work with the president. That's a quote on immigration. So the mayor at this point is Donald Trump.
Okay, so obviously we know that is not true whatsoever. President Trump is not the mayor of New York City, never will be. But what's worse than that is what CNN is up to. Now, what they're trying to do is prove that there is a quid pro quo just based on the interview with Tom Homan and Eric Adams on Fox and Friends that occurred yesterday. Watch this.
I wanted to play what Tom Homan said today with his appearance on Mayor Adams on Fox. Here he is.
If he doesn't come through, I'll be back in New York City, and we won't be sitting on the couch. I'll be in his office, up his butt, saying, "Where the hell is the agreement we came to?"
Come on, Tom. You could have
What
said
is he
something.
saying there? Where the hell is the agreement we came to? If he doesn't come through, I'll be back in New York City.
Yeah, so he's basically, this is the quid pro quo. It seems like this is the implicit threat. If you don't come through on your part of the agreement, I'm coming back to claim what we have, which is that we have submitted to the court that the case is still strong, and we're asking the court to dismiss it, but not to throw it completely away. It's still hanging out there.
So we can hang it like a sword.
Absolutely. So the concern is that it's not just weaponization to drop the case, it's actually weaponization to keep the case hovering above the mayor's head.
So he can continue to do what they want. It's an incredible moment that we are in. Thank you very much, Ryan.
And it doesn't take much. That's how CNN operates. You know, they take the clip, they turn that clip into a story that has nothing to do with the actual clip itself, but it sounds good. And if you're not willing to do your research and you're not willing to actually watch the context within that clip, like that full interview, which clearly Tom Homan was not threatening him. It was coming on the back of the question that, hey, are you serious, Mayor Eric Adams, with working with Tom Homan? How do we know it's actually going to work between you two, et cetera, et cetera? But again, CNN, they're not going to play you that. And this also applies to what they refuse to tell us about Big Pharma and how much it's been.
Okay. So yeah, and he clearly, and after the part from where they cut, he also says, "I'll be back here asking you why you didn't do what you said you would agree to do." Mm-hmm. So it's, yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. I think it's interesting, especially now that the FEMA payments have come out and all of that stuff. And, New York's been a sanctuary city, for a while now. So very proudly proclaiming to be a sanctuary city. Mm-hmm. So, and all of the FEMA funds that were redirected to go there, that were paying for hotel rooms and other stuff. And so anyway, we'll keep a tab on that and see how it develops over the next few days.
Absolutely.
Any thoughts or anything in closing?
More to come.
Yeah.
Yeah. Lot going on. A lot of changing.
Yeah, definitely. Well, all right. Well, then we'll break till next time. Thank you very much for coming. And appreciate your time. I hope you have a great week, man.